Hello, we're back. It's the Ancient Coin Hour podcast, and welcome back. This is Dean Kinzer, president of Kinzer Coins, and Josh Benevento. Welcome back for episode 2. Got an exciting show. We're going to do a lot less talking and let somebody else do some talking. So we're going to start out with kind of going over what coins we had come across our desk, like last episode. And all of those are going to be tied into kind of an auction related theme, which will follow immediately after with a interview with Mike Gasvoda, who's the directing manager of CNG Coins, one of the biggest auction houses in the United States, and somebody who is a wealth of resources, not only just for collecting, but also for auctioning. So anyway, with that being said, I'd like to start us off by going over a little bit of the coins that we got during the week. Good to see you guys. Miss talking to you for the last couple of days. Since we're in order of heads here, I will go. Josh, why don't you go ahead and kind of go over what you got coming across your desk?
Sure. So this week I want to share with everybody a really cool coin featuring some wrestlers, actually. This coin here, it comes from Pamphylia, specifically the city of Aspendus. This coin it was struck circa 380 to about 250 BC. It is a stater. A little bit background of where it's from. Ancient Pamphylia. It's on Asia Minor's southern coast. It was a culturally diverse region with notable cities like Aspendos, which this coin is from. Its strategic location facilitated trade. It led to economic prosperity and preserving archaeological wonders from civilizations like the Hittites, the Greeks, and the Romans all occupied this area. Here on the obverse, it's showing two wrestlers. There's a little F with an N in retrograde right in the middle. And the really cool thing about this example is that it has this legend underneath, Elifa Menites, something like that. My Greek pronunciation is probably not the greatest. But that being said, the wrestler coins of this type can be actually classified into two primary groups. There's a first group that displays variations in the wrestler's postures. And up here on the screen here, if you'll see, I'm showing you just a couple of different these postures, these different positions. And then we have a second group of coins that always show the same identical stance. The inception of this second group is likely linked to a specific issue of Von Olak 4568, which this coin is, and it features that inscription that I mentioned earlier. That was interpreted by George Francis Hill, a very famous numismatist, 1920s, I believe. And he names the two wrestlers, one Ellipsa, which actually means slippery, and the other Menitos, which means stalwart. So this all led to the conclusion that the wrestlers depicted symbolized a commemorative statue group established in the city of Aspendos, with the second group of coins being struck after its completion. The purpose behind such a commemorative work remains uncertain, but it is conceivable that the statue group was erected in honor of citizens of Aspendos who achieved victory at the Olympic Games, a theme often reflected on coin types. Additionally, these games were instituted in Aspendos in 402 BC, reviving an earlier festival. The enduring significance of this coin type for over a century suggests its particular importance to the city. Notably, Selj, the city of Selj, and the city of Atina in Pisidia issued their own series of staters in the 4th century featuring these wrestler coins. Um, the term agoniskos, it means signifying a combatant or a contestant. And what it does, it encapsulizes the competition, um, the competition spirit associated with the god Agon, which is the god of the games. So besides Aspendus and in Macedon, Selj and Athenia, the only other two cities that featured this agonistic wrestling scene on their coins, emphasizing the thematic connection to these Olympic Games. If we look at the reverse of this coin, we see the word Estuidius written up on the side. And what that is actually the local Pamphylian name for the city of Aspetus. On the back, we also see this slinger striding. To the right, pulling a sling taut over its head. This slinger represents the soldiery for which Aspendus was famous for in antiquity. Then, along right on the right hand side of the slinger, we have a Triskelies. And if you know anything about Sicilian history or the Sicilian flag, even to this day, it has one of these Triskelies on it. And this represents the interconnectedness of life, death, and rebirth. The Triskelies was often associated with cycles and the eternal flow of time. It presents itself on various artifacts, especially pottery and other cultural important things that came out of Greece, and how it relates to their philosophical and mythological perspectives. So this is the coin I wanted to show this week. Show a little bit of background information on it, and it's a really cool coin type. This particular example of mine is really pretty affordable. I mean, even though this is kind of a rare type because it has those legends, but there are a couple others out there that are really beautiful. In fact, Triton, the most recent Triton sale had one of these on there, and I'll show this coin right here up on the screen. And if you notice, the difference between that coin and this coin is, I mean, the quality is just outstanding on the Triton example. But that one recently sold, and I think it hammered for right around 1,200. So yeah, so they're pretty affordable
There
coins.
are, just from the retail side, there are a number of them out there that not with your specific
Hmm.
wrestler names on it, but I've always wondered about the type. I know I've seen it a number of times, and I think it's really neat. If I had a connection to wrestling, I would definitely be all over that. That would be coin number one in my collection. Thank you for presenting. My coin is tied into our theme of uh, auctions because I did buy it at auction, but not in the traditional way that when you think of auction. So I wanted to bring this up. Harlan J. Burke, who we have talked about, and actually they mentioned us on their podcast, the Ancient Coin podcast, which you should definitely watch. And it's very informative as well. Certainly, they have years and years and years of experience over there. They're kind of masters of the trade, so they know just about everything. And it's just a wealth of information. So anytime you get an opportunity, please make sure you check them out, like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that Harlan J. Burke does, and Aaron Burke, is they do a buyer bid sale. And so what does that mean? I don't understand. You have an auction, it goes off at a certain time. Then you bid on it. If you don't win, you don't win. Well, so what he does is there's a catalog that comes out either online or through the mail. They have an opening bid, and you can bid until the expiration date, continue to go up, that kind of stuff. Or you have the option to buy at list price then. And so you can buy it right off the bat without having to bid, or you can wait, bid lower, and see if that bid holds. And if it's lower than the asking price, you can win it, and it can be yours. And then as the time gets closer to the end of the auction, there are certain, I guess, milestones where they hit where it can go to the next highest bid, and you can win. Or after the auction, you can go to where if something didn't move at the price that they wanted to, they'll go below reserve, or below risk, or reserve, either one of those two. And so that gives you an opportunity to get the coin cheaper. If nobody bought it and nobody bid on it, it still gives you an availability to get it. So an interesting take on auctioning that I have not really been a part of too many times until I started dealing with Harlan J. Burke. But what I did win was probably the most interesting person in Byzantine history. So probably more remarkable for what happened to his face than just about anything. But Justinian II, who was a Roman emperor for two different periods of time, early on was an iconoclast, did not conform necessarily with the Romans or the people from Rome, the Catholics from Rome, as to what they thought about icons. But he's also famous for putting Christ on the obverse of his coin for the first time. So, in the first time in recorded history, you have an image of Christ that's on the front side of a gold coin that he released. And it's a really interesting coin. I think there's a lot of aspects to like and be interested in. First of all, there's two different types. One is the Christ that I have, like what you see here in the picture, our traditional way us Westerners look at Jesus Christ. And then there's the young Christ, a younger image of Christ. That's a different coin completely, and I think it came out in his second reign. Um, and But what's really interesting about the obverse, the image of Christ is based on Zeus. And so when we think of Jesus Christ and what he looks like, I wonder, do we think of Jesus Christ looking like Zeus? Is what we think of Jesus Christ looking like. Now, the second coin looks more like what you would imagine a Middle Eastern guy in his 30s would look like. And so the young Christ, they call it, or I guess the adult Christ, uh, looks like what you would imagine. But the first image of Christ is based on a mixture of him and Zeus. And so a lot of me wonders if that's where our representation of Christ came from, is based on Zeus. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation that I certainly is for another day. But these coins are really special, and I think particularly with people who are Christians or have that background, there's a handful of coins that are closely linked to the Bible, and then there are certain coins that are very important to Christianity. So the shekel attire, the widow's mite, the even you could even consider the Jewish war shekel. That's a pretty prominent kind of Western Christian background kind of thing. But there's just a ton of the people have very specific tastes when it comes to Christian coins. These are very important when they're especially when they're related to the Bible. So this is one of those milestone coins, a holy grail coin of an image of Jesus Christ. I would say that they are not incredibly rare. There are some available. Generally, a nice one, is in the thousands. It's not cheap. And then a perfect one is probably closer to 5 digits. But the overall, it's probably one of my favorite showpieces of coins. It's one of those where you say, here's Julius Caesar's portrait. Here's the first image of Christ on coin. And so to me, it's a very valuable and important piece of history that I get to own because I'm an ancient coin collector. The one thing you get with these coins is that usually Jesus's nose has been worn because it's a high point. And then sometimes the reverse has flatness, or in the legends have flatness. But I can't think of anything like in the back of my mind, I was saving my money pretty early on. I was like, there's a few points in time that you can point to. Now, I would love to talk about Justinian II, and you ask yourself, what's he most known for? He was dethroned. They cut off his nose. He was imprisoned. He was released, and then he strapped a golden nose to the front of his face. Just a very the story of Justinian II is very interesting. The only guy, they cut off your nose so that you could never come back into power or even be relevant. You would be embarrassed. That guy's like, forget that. I'm getting a golden nose. I'm throwing that
gold nose.
throwing That's right. But there's so much to like about those. And then, there are other coins that have like the first cross, I think, came out on a coin in the 300s, and I forget where it's from. But Well, but I mean, I think there's
Constantine,
a
yeah.
region that had its own coin that it's super expensive. I mean, it's not. It's like at the top of the
Hmm.
coin, but I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, yeah. So obviously
Okay.
the cross has developed over time, but this is first image of Christ and based on a you know a Greek god. So with that being said, we're going to start our interview with Mike Gasvoda, and so we hope you enjoy. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody back. Today is a very special day as we are privileged to host the managing director of CNG, one of the largest auction houses in the United States when it comes particularly to ancient coins. Somebody that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and somebody that is here to help for just about anybody who is starting out to understand the auction process and how they can interact with that, and what some of the market segments and how they're expanding and all that kind of stuff. So, Mike, pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you. We've missed you. How have you been?
I've been good. It's finally slowing down after the New York International. That's a show that takes us a few weeks to get all the dust to settle from after it's over, and I'm almost completely empty in my safe in terms of consignment processing, and that happens about once a year for me, and it's usually a few weeks after New York. So things are good.
Pigs are good. What would you say was the neatest transaction that happened in the auction that you held, the Triton that was so big?
I to me, and it's this is not going to be the most expensive coin, but I think the two really cool things that I worked on were two consignments that were both people that were personal friends of mine. The first being Wayne Scheibel, and we sold maybe 100 coins of Wayne's in the auction, and he was a friend of mine from Tucson, and he passed away last fall. And for the first time, I got to see all of Wayne's coins at once. I usually got to see them one or two at a time, and it was really fun to work with that and remember him. And then the second one was Tom Beniak, or as he was listed in the catalog, Dr. Thomas Beniak, from the Upper Midwest, and he's still alive, and his collection is one of the finest Alexandrian collections that you'll probably ever see. And this was just the first part of it, but it was neat for me because I got to see a lot of coins that I've never seen in hand before. And he had a Pertinax tetragram from Alexandria. I think there's two of them known, and to get to look at that and go back to 100 years of provenance and study the history of it was a lot of fun. To me, the most enjoyable thing about New York, though, is getting to see everybody again. We just all get scattered in different directions, and New York is one of those places where everybody comes back together, even if it's just for a week. And it's just such a neat way to renew old friendships.
So, kind of big picture, Mike. So we're trying to talk to people that don't have a lot of interactions in the coin market. Try to, it's very hard for somebody to kind of start from scratch and learn about coins, particularly ancients, when there's so much to learn. There's so many forgeries. There's just a lot to kind of take on. And so we've been kind of drawing up a template to try and help people understand what are some of the, foundational blocks that you can use, tools in your toolkit to try and become a better collector and really, do go about this the right way rather than making a lot of mistakes, like a
Sure.
lot of us have. And But one of the things we have not touched on yet, but is very important too, is auctions.
Hmm.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit about how CNG is what's it called? How would a new collector use CNG to you as a resource?
Yeah, it's a good question, and probably the easiest answer is if they're looking at a coin and want to try and get some idea what the value of it is. we have one of the buttons across the top of our website page, which is just simply cngcoins.com, is a button called research. And you can click on that and type in, an emperor or a Greek city or a Byzantine ruler or whatever it happens to be. And it will, if you hit return, it'll give you all the results for that ruler that we've ever sold back to the 1980s. And the nice thing about it is it's free. There are sites. I personally use Coin Archives when I do research because it's probably the most complete. But unless you're willing to spend $1,200 a year to use that site, as a new collector, I'm guessing that doesn't make sense. So we do offer that resource, and it is used rather heavily. You guys are all on Facebook, and you'll frequently see a reply on Facebook that'll have a link to a CNG research page where somebody looks something up. The second way, and this doesn't relate to us, but you can look on sites like Vcoins and look up coins and see what they're being offered at, usually from a variety of dealers if it's a common coin. What you don't get doing that is you don't, in my opinion, you don't get the true value. In other words, what I'm asking for, it doesn't mean I've sold it. I've still got it for sale. And so an auction site that shows you prices realized tends to give you, in my opinion, a better look at what coins are really worth. I think it's really hard for a new collector to jump into ancients without having a mentor. You will make mistakes if you go this on your own at first, and we all hope that they're small if you make them. I think that you typically get in the few $100 range, hopefully, and um, you'll probably buy a few coins and show them to all your friends. And if they're ancient coin collectors, they'll either ooh and ah or they'll kind of cringe, and you learn pretty quickly. But the other thing I would say about CNG that's kind of unique is we are one of the few people left that go into detail in describing flaws on a coin. And so if you look at our research site, you'll look up at it and we'll grade a coin VF, and one of them might sell for $300 and the next one sells for 100. The fact of the matter is, if you go in and open up each of those lots, one of them might have scratches on it, or it might have porosity or pitting or what have you. And so you can get a feel for not just what the grade of a coin is, but all of the other attributes of a coin that impact its price. I see, again, I'll refer to Facebook, but I see a lot of coins that are bought that are really heavily smoothed, and these being bronze coins primarily, but and somebody paid full market price for that coin because they didn't understand what it was they were looking at. And I'm not one to ever make a negative comment on Facebook. I don't like that, but there are times when I look at it and go, "Oh, I wish I could say something to this person or that person because they made a mistake," and um, and the other thing I would say is if you follow an auction live, and this isn't true for us, it's true for virtually everybody, you can do that without registering, you can do it without bidding. So you can see a lot of coins go across the auction block and what they actually sold for. And it's kind of entertaining. And if you have a bent to do that, I will tell you, I think you guys all know, but I manage the admin side of the close of all of our auctions. And when you're sitting staring at 1,200 lots closing in a day, it gets pretty tedious. And so, what I will do at times when I'm bored to entertain myself is I'll look at the next lot and try and do an over under on what I think it's going to hammer for. And it kind of keeps me entertained, and if there's two of us doing it, we'll make gentlemen bets on, okay, I think this one's going for $1,000, and um, but The thing about an auction that's different about buying at a show or buying online is you're seeing hopefully what something really sold for, and I think that's always valuable. I do look at V coins. I certainly look at all the dealers' tables at shows, but I have a pretty darn good idea what I think things are worth, and I think as a new collector, that's a challenge.
Absolutely. So just real quick, if I'm going to use the reference guide and I'm going to look at auctions, what in terms of auctions, and I'm a new buyer, what kind of auction should I look at? We mentioned Triton earlier. I'm assuming that that's not the first place you should go, but you offer different types. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
We do, and if we talk about consignments later, this is kind of a similar subject, but um, we have three basic tiers of auctions. We have e-sales, we have keystone sales, and we have feature sales. And a feature sale is a printed catalog auction. Um, and I would say, as a general rule, and there are exceptions to every rule, but as a general rule, our e-sales would primarily be coins estimated between $100 and, say, $3,000 or so. Uh, the Keystone auctions are a little different in that we only do them when we have a collection that is market focused. In other words, the Tom Beniak collection that I mentioned before of Alexandrian could have been a Keystone auction because it was just a cohesive group of just that one kind of coins. Um, but in his case, the value was high enough that it warranted being in a live a feature auction. And then with the feature auctions, the Triton auction is for us the top tier. We think it's probably the best ancient and world coin auction in North America held each year.
Agreed.
And we try to have a minimum estimate of $1,000 on a coin that goes into Triton. And on the other two feature sales, one in the spring and one in the fall, that estimate is generally $750 or greater. And as I say, there are exceptions to every rule, and usually that exception is that if you take in a great collection where something logically should be with the other coins, even though it's not high value, we'll put it into a print sale and do it that way. Um, and e-sales are really, I mean, we hold an e-sale every other week, and so if you want to look at Greek or Roman or Roman provincial, Roman imperial, Roman Republican, Byzantine, you name it, you'll see several hundred of those coins every other week.
Yeah.
And as I said, that if you're interested in a specific market segment, you can just click on and follow those lots closing. You don't have to even register. You can just follow it and see what happens. So that's the three kind of tiers of auctions that we do, and we hold about 30 auctions a year. And the one specific market I didn't mention was Islamic. And that's
New.
fairly new for us, and those auctions are held in London.
With CNG, you guys get in such a variety of numismatic materials, coins,
Sure.
metals, medallions, weights, antiquities sometimes. Can you share any kind of memorable experiences that you have with or unique challenges that you faced with handling a specific collection, or maybe some rare items or anything like that you can remember or recall?
Well, probably the most interesting coin I've ever handled that we sold was the Diocletian medallion that we sold. Gosh, that's got to have been 2 years ago now. And it was a medallion of 10 solidi. So I mean, it was a big, heavy piece. I mean, it looked like a US $20 gold piece. And you don't see ancient gold that looks like that unless you get to maybe the early Ptolemaic stuff. And the coin was just mind-boggling, and it was one of those rare coins that I held in my hand and said, my gosh, how is there a way for me to afford to buy this coin? It was just that cool. I had never seen one like it. Uh, that was really a unique experience, and I know where that coin ended up, and I'll probably never see it again. And you know, but to me, I think the most enjoyable part of this business, or memorable part, is working with consigners and having them be happy. You know, in the last couple weeks, I've gotten, I think, 4 different emails from people telling us how pleased they were with what we did. And you know, it's not human nature to write an email like that. And so when you get them, it's really, really appreciated. You know, we're all kind of creatures of expecting things to be perfect. And so you tend to get emails from somebody that wants to know why this didn't go right or that didn't go right. And, you know, I'm leaving in a week to head down to Kentucky to pick up a second part of a consignment. And it was a consigner that I hadn't talked to since a year ago when I took the first part in. And I called and I had no idea what to expect. And he and his wife both got on the phone and said, "We just wanted to tell you how incredibly happy we are with how everything went." And it just made my day. You know, it was just like, wow, that was just really cool. And so I'm headed down there in a couple of weeks to see them and get the second part of their consignment. But um, it, it's fun for me to work with people who, with you together, develop a plan and it works, and you know, everybody gets it. That's just the fun part. I handle so many coins that amaze me with their beauty and their quality and their rarity. And uh, you know, if I had to pick one out other than the Diocletian medallion, I'd have a hard time doing it, or you'd have to extend this podcast another hour.
That's right. Well, while we're talking about consignments, do you want to kind of go over the process? What is it that CNG does that's different? All that kind of stuff. Maybe, you know, obviously you have an auction every 2 weeks, so you got to get a lot of material in and out. And then you have some of the heavyweight ones that come up. That's moving a lot of material. So tell us a little bit about us and how, you know, viewers can help out if they're interested in consigning.
Sure. And you know, I think that probably for most of the auction houses, our processes are similar in some respects, and that is that obviously the first step is to communicate with us, and generally that comes in one of two ways, either an email or a phone call. Um, and as a consigner, the most valuable thing you can have is a list in some sort of what it is you want to consign. And you know, times have changed so much that today you can lay all your coins out on a table and take a photograph with your iPhone and send it, and that photograph's of good enough quality that we can blow it up and we can tell what every coin is. And you know, didn't used
That's
to be
right.
able to do that. Um, but generally it starts with, I would say, an email is more common than a phone call. Simply with, hey, I'm thinking about consigning these coins, here's what I've got. Can you tell me, you know, what kind of terms I might get, where I might expect to see them in auction, how long it would take to get them into auction. And then there are a whole team of us that respond to those emails. If it goes into the CNG website, it'll go to Lance first, who manages our consignment team. But as you guys know, I'm here in the Midwest. Dave and Vera are on the West Coast. Victor's on the East Coast. We've got the London office. Now we've got the Hague office. So it could be any number of the team that would eventually follow up. And if the consignment is significant, one of us would travel to go see it and pick it up, like I'm doing in a couple weeks just south of Cincinnati. Um, and usually in a matter of actually hours, normally we can come to agreement on, you know, what's the best place to put these coins, and what do we think they're going to bring, and have um, we send an email out that has FedEx shipping instructions that uses our insurance, and we're Lloyd's of London, and it's insured to $100,000 per package. And for younger collectors, that's kind of pretty normal. They go to FedEx and package it up and ship it to us. And for some of the older collectors, usually they get a little nervous about that, and so we tend to pick more of those collections up. But having good records of what you had makes a consignment process, no matter who it's with, so much easier. Having when you bought it, what you paid for it, what auction it came out of, or what dealer you bought it from, or whatever, is really good for your own personal records, but it really helps us from a consignment record too. We will research virtually every coin to find out what history it has, but if the consignor knows that, I can tell you that he'll probably get better terms, because it takes a lot of time to research a coin.
That's right.
And so that's the process that we go through. And I will say that I think one of the things that's really kind of unique about CNG, and Dean, you mentioned it earlier, or maybe Josh, you did, is we sell a lot of different things, and we sell a lot of different things well. When you go to a coin show and you've got $1,000 in your pocket and you walk around the floor the first time and you've only spent 500, unfortunately, we all kind of tend to think the same way, and that is, I better take another walk and find something else I can buy for the rest of the $500 I've got.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do that and you make an impulse purchase, and a year later you look at your collection and go, well, this doesn't fit with my collection. Why did I buy this?
Right.
And it may be a US coin, or it may be a medallion, or it may be paper money, or what have you, or even as you said, and maybe we can talk about antiquities if we have time, but we do all of that stuff, and it's not uncommon for us to have a collector call up and say, I've got 10 miscellaneous pieces of this or that I'd like to sell, because I'd like to put that money into something else. And we do that. And there aren't a lot of places that can do that. And so I'm pretty proud of that. And in fact, I spent the last week working on almost 1,000 pieces of world paper money. And, there's not a lot of places you're going to go hand somebody a bucket full of paper money that's unattributed and say, would you auction this for me? And they're going to get very excited about it. So. So that, and I do U.S. coins as well, and with antiquities, that's a specialized area that I'm very leery and very careful of, but we do that when the circumstances are right. And of course, I think we have probably one of the strongest British people in the world in David Guest. I mean, he's the Queen's and now King's numismatist in London.
Oh, yeah.
And, Steve Lloyd with our Islamic sales, which is new. And I don't know that I can announce it yet, so I'll hold off on giving a specific name, but we just doubled the size of that department in London. And
well, I'll go ahead in advance and say thank you for the position. I appreciate it.
Do you read squiggly lines, Dean? I didn't know that.
No.
But it's a highly specialized field, and so we've created a rather significant market niche in that arena, and so we're having fun with that, and I expect that to continue to grow, and again, that auction will be held hopefully in our offices in London, and that'll be a first for us over there. Who knows? Maybe we'll do more auctions over there.
Absolutely. Well, that was a really fascinating interview. I certainly hope you guys enjoyed it. There's just a lot to, kind of download and try to understand about not only just auctions, but coin collecting. So I'm really glad that we got to have Mike on. It really makes me feel good about what we're doing. We're doing it for the right reasons, and hopefully that we can inspire more guests to come on and really showcase what they do and help give us tidbits about how to buy coins properly and without as little risk as possible. With that being said, Josh, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Closing thoughts, just happy collecting, and we'll see you next time.
And then I will say, as always, make sure you like and subscribe at the bottom of the screen. We're going to put any necessary links that you might be interested in at the bottom, and that's all because of Josh's hard work, and we really appreciate that. We will continue this interview in part 2 with Mike in the next episode, so I hope you guys are excited about that. And like Kings in General says, we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.